Welcome to the channel. I am Prelim Poster Boy, and today we're going over the problem with the UFC. Now today I'll be going over different topics that I think the UFC can fix to help better their organization and what some of the fans want to see. So let's start off with the first one. Jones versus Stipe, right? This big mega clash of titans. These two goats, you should say, are going at it. But I can't find anyone who actually wants to watch this fight. Now, yes, they had it set before Tom Aspinall fought for the interim belt, but now that we have the clarity after Tom Aspinall wins the belt, now there's some questions arousing, right? Is Jones ducking Aspinall? Is Stipe ducking Aspinall? Both of them could be true, right? But you would think as the UFC progresses, as fights happen, they'd want to see Jones versus Aspinall. But they're still going with Jones versus Miocic, which is interesting, right? Because John Jones, he's about 35, 36 years old, just came off a fight, and is going to come off a torn pec versus an extremely old Stipe, who I don't really think has much juice left in the tank. So it's going to be a one-sided beatdown, right? Insert Tom Aspinall into the picture. Tom Aspinall, young, fast, powerful, probably the best guy Jones will ever fight. Fans want to see Jones be tested. They want to see him be tested like he did against Dominic Reyes, right? Sorogan really doesn't have anything in the grappling department to really deal with Jones, right? Tom Aspinall has that. He has a great ground game. John Jones has a great ground game. And I think Tom Aspinall can really defeat John Jones. That's what people want to see. They don't want to see Stipe go in there, have Jones get a free win versus Stipe. They want to see him get tested like Tom Aspinall would. Money versus matchups. Now I have Colby and Bilal on the screen here. I'm referring to 296 pay-per-view, right? Colby, year-and-a-half layoff going up against the champion Leon Edwards, right? In hindsight, yeah, bad matchup. Colby looked slow, he looked lethargic, but what did he do to deserve the matchup, right? He's out there beating guys like Jorge Masvidal, who hasn't touched a win since Nate Diaz, for Christ's sakes, who Bilal Muhammad is on a 10-fight unbeaten streak, beating guys like Gilbert Burns. And now let me get to that fight, right? Gilbert Burns wasn't 100%. He's still 50-45 Gilbert Burns, who's one of the best welterweights that we have. And if you're just looking at this matchup straight on paper, I think Bilal wins, obviously. But nowadays, we're not going with the matchups people want to see. We're going with the money, and I get it. It's a company. They need to make money. But if we want the best fights, which the UFC is all about, they're all about the best fights, then we would have went with Bilal versus Leon. And he is way more deserving, right? 10-fight unbeaten streak. Colby hasn't sniffed a guy who's in the top 10 since God knows how long ago, right? He hasn't beat one. Bilal's taken out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Gilbert Burns. He took out Vicente Luque, right? These are all the things that UFC fans want to see, and I get it. Bilal's not a fan favorite, right? No one really wants to see him fight. But if we're going for the best interest of matchups, what is a matchup I want to see? I didn't want to see Colby versus Leon because I knew what was going to happen, and it happened. Got dominated. He's old. He's 35 years old, off a year-and-a-half layoff, almost 2-year layoff. He isn't going to do anything to Leon, who's fast twitch, in his prime, got great takedown defense, can impose his will. Yeah, the fight was boring, but when the end of the fight happened, I think everyone knew who won that fight pretty convincingly. Now, if you insert Bilal Muhammad versus Leon, now we're talking a little bit, we're talking Leon probably can't take the Bilal down, but Bilal probably can't take Leon down. Now it's just going to be a battle, a war of attrition. Who's going to come out on top? It's going to be a closer matchup, and I think people would actually want to see that fight. As much as Bilal haters hate to admit it, it'd be a pretty interesting fight, like the first fight. Week pay-per-views. Now, I've always been on record saying, well, I guess this is the first video on the channel, so let me just give you my opinion on pay-per-views, right? Pay-per-views are awesome. Fight nights are awesome. I could afford missing out every other weekend for a good fight night and a good pay-per-view every single month, right? We don't need to be doing an event every single week. Fights that no one really cares about, old people fights that no one really cares about, stack pay-per-views, stack fight nights, right? On the left here, 289. I was really hyped for this pay-per-view, right? Oliveira, Dariush, that fight alone. What other fight on the main card, let alone the prelims, were you like dying to see, you know? Mike Malot's a good prospect. He's a feature fight. You know, the co-main was better than the main event, right? No offense to Nunes and Aldana, you know, they're respectively great, but people are not willing to pay, what is it, $80 for a pay-per-view, you know, if this is what you're putting out. Fast forward a month later, UFC 290 was absolutely stacked. A great pay-per-view. This is what the pay-per-views we should be getting. 2 title fights, great number 1 contender fights, and great fights on the main card and the prelims. And that's what I think we should do, you know. I went to a live event here recently, a fight night, and it was pretty decently stacked. Had great fights at the prelims. And then a week later they do another fight night in the Apex. And it was just, the fights weren't the same, right? Obviously, some fights are good, right? It's not all about the name value. But sometimes to draw in eyes, you need to have name value for pay-per-views, for fight nights, you know? So I think if we cut down some of the fight nights, put them on and stack them, you know, a fight night co-main event should be a good prelim fight for a pay-per-view. Or a fight night main event should be a main card pay-per-view fight. And I think the last thing I'm going to talk about is the stars of the UFC. We don't have any. Yeah, I have 3 of the biggest stars in the UFC right now. Am I excited for them to fight? Yeah. I'm excited for each one of them to come in and fight. But no one has the aura, no one has a personality, no one is McGregor. Let's get that out of the way. No one is. It's going to be a long time until we get McGregor. But these stars that we have in the UFC, never watched a Sean O'Malley, you know, press conference. Izzy's fight style is boring. John Jones is a psychopath, right? No one really has everything to entail. The great trash talk, the great performances, exciting in the cage. Outside, what are they doing on social media? Are they making people laugh? Are they stirring up controversy, right? None of these guys really do it. We see a couple tweets from Sean O'Malley now and then saying he's going to beat up Flaming Hot Cheetos or something, like Cheeto Vera. Like, no one cares, right? I'm not interested. I'm not going to like the tweet. I'm not going to retweet it. I don't care. All right, that's not stirring up controversy, right? Izzy, I'm a fan. God, sometimes he's boring. Once he has someone to actually push him into a fight, that's when he can do some of his more exciting work. But outside of that, if he's facing the Jared Cannoniers, Marvin Vettori's of the world, he's going to clean sweep him. I shouldn't even say clean sweep him, but like do enough to win the fight in every round. But not really wow us, you know, or like, this is the Israel Adesanya, the style bender. You know, there's no style in the style bender. Ever since he got that belt. And now he's losing his belt. Now he's taking a couple months off, right? He's going to go on a little hiatus. Which he should. You know, that was a tough loss he lost to Strickland. Come back fight. Start shooting promos. Get better in there. You know, if he fights Pereira or Strickland or Duplessis, right? Any of those fights, you know, I'll be tuned in to that fight. I will be watching that fight. But inside the cage, right, it's like he's wiping these no-names. I shouldn't say no-names, right? These lower-level stars, these level competition, where he's just going to batter them with leg kicks, jab them a couple times. And that's what I think the problem is. And then John Jones, pretty exciting in the cage, right? Trash talks. But the man is a psychopath. No one really, you can't promote a guy like that who who's done all that stuff in the past, you know, who could be a little toxic to the UFC. You know, they promote them, but do they really? You know, if they had John Jones, right, the greatest of all time, and you took out everything he did, right, all those, you know, failed drug tests, you know the things I'm talking about. They'd be promoting this guy. You'd see him on billboards in the middle of, you know, Times Square every week. But you just can't promote a guy like that. That's why I think there are just no real stars in the UFC. And I think most people would agree with that. You know, the O'Malley's, the Adesanya's, the Jones, those are marked as your star. I didn't put Oliveira, maybe a Makhachev with the Eastern crowd. But there's no real stars outside of McGregor. We need a guy who's got the aura, the fight style, the trash talk, and outside the cage personality. You know, it's just, we don't really have all, no one can really mix and match with all of them. There's always something that you're missing out on. And I really do think that's the problem with the UFC. Thank you for watching.